Phase 2 of our winter storm underway. I'm tracking heavy rain and the possibility of a band of very heavy snow just ahead.
Snow made travel tricky in places. Now at 4, see how it also made it difficult for firefighters trying to get to a house fire in southern Kentucky. And the Kentucky Wildcats are climbing in the latest polls after 2 big wins and 2 players pick up big honors.
WKYT News starts now with First Alert Weather.
Good afternoon, I'm Jennifer Palumbo. We are getting ready for another round of snow. The first round kept police busy the past 24 hours. So far today, Lexington officers have worked 27 crashes. People were hurt in 5 of them. That compares to 90 crashes in 11 hours yesterday. That's why we've declared another WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has the latest first at 4. And Chris, it's not just snow. Flooding is also a concern.
Yeah, it really is. We got a lot of snow on the ground across parts of the area. Now temperatures are above freezing, so we're getting some snow melt, and now we're adding heavy rain to the mix as well. So it's coming at us in a different wave, at least in the short term. Flood watch is out for all of eastern and southeastern Kentucky. That'll go to tonight through the overnight into early tomorrow morning. Within that zone, some areas could pick up 2 inches of rain. That would be enough to cause some high water issues. We're also going to be dealing with the potential for significant band of snow to set up. Just being issued our winter weather advisories. We're going to see that filled in very shortly for parts of the Lexington metro. I suspect before the evening is over, we're going to see these upgraded to winter storm warnings for parts of the area. We're looking at your Defender radar network for now, and it is all about the heavy rain. The leading edge of the rain, low clouds and dense fog across parts of central Kentucky, where you see the yellows, the oranges, and the reds. Some very heavy rains coming down. And keep in mind, a lot of these areas last night picked up anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of snow, so it won't take a whole lot to cause creeks and streams to get out of their banks. We'll keep a very close eye on that flooding situation through the course of the evening. Here's the developing storm system that is down across parts of the Birmingham, Alabama area. That's going to ride its way toward Knoxville, Tennessee, and produce a narrow band of very heavy snows that will set up somewhere across central and northeastern Kentucky, especially as we go into late this evening into the overnight. Here's the updated call for the new snowfall that in an area that I've highlighted in red could pick up 4 to 8 inches of sloppy, slushy snows late tonight. Temperatures with this may never go below freezing, but Jennifer, I've seen situations like this before in a narrow corridor that may be 50 to 75 miles wide, put down a thumping snow where you get those big fat snowflakes. Now this won't start until late this evening into the wee hours of the morning, and it's a fluid situation, so when you keep checking back with us through the next few hours, as I get a better handle on this, you may find yourself in the higher category or downgraded a little bit based on where I'm seeing that heavy snow band setting up. For right now, that's where I'm most comfortable in the forecast. A little later on, that may change, so just keep it right here and we'll keep you up to date, and I'm back in 15 minutes.
We'll see you then, Chris. The snow created challenges for firefighters trying to get to a house fire in Pulaski County, which had up to 6 inches of snow. WKYT's Phil Pendleton shows us how crews also had to deal with rough road conditions. It's our top story at 4.
The fire broke out early this morning while the residents inside were still asleep. But the public safety director said they had smoke detectors, and he believes that saved their lives. Drivers didn't have much trouble on main roads, but once you hit the side streets such as Rainy Road, that's where it became really slow going again. Such was the case for the Shopville and Dabney fire departments, who were called to a house fire there. Firefighters and the county road department battled the fire together. Plow trucks literally paving the way for the firefighters to get to their work. And when they got there, the family was already outside.
But the dad did say they had 3 working smoke detectors, which woke them up and was able to get out. So that's the best news I've got all day. We don't have another fatality.
The cause of the fire is under investigation. The public safety director tells me that he believes it likely started somewhere around the interior part of the home. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
The family said they were able to save a few items, but lost nearly everything they owned. The Fayette County Sheriff's Office has activated its winter care program. Deputies will offer rides to and from work for people in the medical industry or those who provide essential services. They'll also help people who have a critical medical appointment or who need a critical prescription filled. Deputies can also do welfare checks on the elderly or those who live alone, and they'll give out coats and blankets to people who need them. From record-shattering cold over the weekend to an expected deluge of rain, the East Coast continues to deal with messy winter weather. And the Midwest shouldn't feel left out. They're also forecast to get some rough weather the next few days. Andrew Spencer has details.
Over the last couple days, some of the coldest temperatures we've seen in New York City in the last 20 years.
On the heels of an extreme freeze across the Northeast this weekend, another front will be coming from the Midwest through to the eastern seaboard. More than 85 million people are expected to endure snow and freezing rain into Tuesday.
It's still bitterly cold outside. We want people to continue to take precautions.
The Washington metro areas are not taking the warnings lightly. Virginia Department of Transportation crews spent Valentine's Day weekend spreading sand and salt on roadways throughout northern Virginia.
These roads are going to be treacherous.
Washington, D.C. is already feeling the effects of the front. Monday morning, they saw near whiteout conditions. A little farther north, Boston had sea smoke forming over the water. The fog is created when especially cold air moves over the warmer waters. And in the Midwest, chunks of ice have formed along the banks of Lake Michigan's Belmont Harbor in Chicago. But not everyone is heeding official warnings.
What are you doing out in the snow on a bicycle going the wrong way on 52?
Well, you're not allowed to ride the bike down that way, and I'm hungry. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
I'm Andrew Spencer reporting.
Remember, you can stay up to date on radar, the forecast, and the latest closings on WKYT.com. You can also find that information by downloading the WKYT News app. Our reporters are working on a number of other stories for WKYT starting at 4:30. Amber Philpott joins us from the newsroom with a look at some of the news in progress. Good afternoon, Amber.
Good afternoon to you, Jennifer. A fallen police officer's widow, his family, and law enforcement are fighting to keep the man convicted of killing him in prison. A jury found Glenn Donahue guilty of manslaughter in the 2010 death of Lexington police officer Brian Durman. Today, Brandy Durman was among those who told 3 members of the parole board why Donahue shouldn't be released. She talked about the effect her husband's death has had on her son.
Because he is already terrified that if his daddy can go to work one night while he's asleep and die as a policeman, what could happen to the rest of us?
Brandy Durman also brought 5,000 letters from the community asking for Donahue to stay in prison. He gets his turn before the board tomorrow. His first attempt to get parole 2 years ago was denied. You'll hear more from Brandy Durman ahead on WKYT News at 5. The case against a man accused of murdering a Lexington woman has been sent to the grand jury. Police charged Alan Burgess with murder in the Kiara Green case. She and 3 others were shot inside a home on Scottsdale Circle in 2014. Green later died. Police say Burgess had a long-standing feud with one of the men at that home. Police testified in a preliminary hearing for Burgess this morning. We'll have more on this case coming up on WKYT News at 4:30. The owners of a historic store in northern Kentucky that was destroyed by fire say they will rebuild, and they're asking for your help. The fire broke out Saturday night at the Rabbit Hash General Store in Boone County. Crews don't know how the fire started, but they do not suspect arson. A GoFundMe page has been set up for donations. So far, it has raised $34,000. That is a look at just some of the news in progress. Jennifer, back to you.
Thank you, Amber. After big wins over Georgia and South Carolina, the Kentucky Wildcats are up to 14th in the latest AP poll. They jumped 8 spots from last week. And the SEC is honoring 2 UK players. Tyler Ulis is the SEC Player of the Week, and Jamal Murray is SEC Freshman of the Week. ESPN also named Ulis the National Player of the Week. Coach John Calipari talks about him on WKYT News at 5:30. The new 21C Hotel in downtown Lexington isn't open yet, but its restaurant is. Lockbox opens today. The restaurant and bar are next to the lobby in the old First National Bank building and can seat about 100 people. Right now, Lockbox is only open for dinner. It'll add breakfast and lunch options at some point. The 21C Hotel opens next month. U.S. airlines are about to begin bidding to fly to Cuba. Starting tomorrow, U.S. carriers will have 15 days to submit applications to the Department of Transportation for Cuba routes. That brings airlines and travelers one step closer to scheduled flights between the two countries for the first time in more than 50 years. The U.S. and Cuba are expected to formally sign an agreement to resume flights soon. They reached the agreement back in December. Once it's signed, it could lead to more than 100 daily round-trip flights to Cuba. Bookstores are making a comeback in this digital age. Data from the U.S. Census Bureau shows bookstore sales rose by 2.5% last year. That's the first year-over-year increase for the industry since 2007. One study suggests the rise is mainly because of adult coloring books and books by YouTube stars. AT&T has plans for bigger and better cell coverage. Company officials say they'll begin field trials on their new 5G network before the end of the year. It'll be an upgrade to the 4G LTE network. It's not yet clear how much of a power boost it'll give to customers' current upload and download speeds. While it's still expensive to rent, those big eye-popping jumps we're used to seeing are moderating. In fact, rents are expected to drop in 9 of 35 big cities this year, including Chicago, Philadelphia, and Detroit, where they're Detroit, they're expected to drop about 0.5%. Barbie has a smart home and a drone. Mattel is unveiling the new Hello Barbie Dream House, decked out with smart technology and even voice recognition software so children can talk to it. It'll sell this fall for $299. Barbie is also getting a drone that'll sell for $60. It's time for Better Living, health education, and consumer news that impacts your life. A new sleep concern. Parents with teenage boys might want to make sure they're getting plenty of sleep. Researchers at Penn State University say teenage boys deprived of deep sleep are at a higher risk of diabetes. They found adolescent boys who did not get the most restful stage of sleep were more likely to develop insulin resistance. The same did not hold true for girls. Women with high blood pressure and physically demanding jobs are 3 times more likely to develop heart disease. Those are the findings of European researchers who tracked more than 12,000 nurses. Nurses with hypertension who did a lot of lifting and carrying tripled their risk of heart problems. A new study finds 2 blood-building drugs injected soon after birth may boost brain development and IQ in premature babies. Researchers say babies who got the drugs scored about 12 points higher on average on IQ tests than the untreated babies, but they were still about 10 points lower than the normal weight group. Experts say the first of its kind study was small, but the implications are big if the results are positive in larger groups. Doctors in British Columbia say air pollution is the 4th highest risk factor for death around the world. More than 5.5 million people are said to die prematurely every year because of air pollution. Cancer is scary, but sometimes it just takes one person to do something special that makes someone in need feel better. Holly Furfer explains.
Janice Weaver is getting her hair styled, but a few years ago this wasn't even possible.
It started coming out in clumps. It's a terrifying experience. It's terrible.
She was losing her hair from multiple chemotherapy treatments for stage 2 breast cancer. And at 22, it was difficult to deal with. That's where Rebecca Walden came in. She specializes in creating wigs for people with medical issues that cause hair to become extremely thin or to fall out, like alopecia, hormonal changes, and cancer.
It's so powerful. And I think that people think, well, it's just hair. Why should I care about hair? And people are like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just your hair. It's just your hair. Well, don't worry about it. It's just your eyes. It's just your fingers. It's just your feet. It's a body part. And when you lose a body part, it is traumatic.
But Rebecca becomes more than just a stylist. She becomes a friend.
She's absolutely a therapist. She's, she and I have been friends now for almost 8 years, and she has seen me through chemo and all of that stuff and everything beyond.
I go home and I know that the people that I saw that day are in their house or out to dinner with their husband or whatever, and they feel like themselves. It is, like I said, I just feel so incredibly blessed.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Holly Furfer.